Today we're looking at phrasal verb nouns and adjectives, because we can make nouns and adjectives from phrasal verbs. Now, what we do with phrasal verbs, the verb and preposition are usually separate. With nouns and adjectives, they're either together or they're separated by a hyphen. Now, generally speaking, the nouns are often together and the adjectives are often separated by a hyphen, but not always. Sometimes the nouns are separated by a hyphen too. So please check a dictionary. There's no rules here, you just got to check. Also, sometimes the nouns and adjectives are inverted. So bring someone up, we have to invert it to make the noun upbringing. And come out, but outcome, and put someone off or off-putting. So sometimes they're inverted, but sometimes they're not. Drawback, a drawback. Fall out with someone, the fallout. Okay, so again, you've got to check a dictionary, and there may not be a noun or adjective connected to the phrasal verb. There isn't always. Okay, so let's look at some of the ones we've got on the board. I'm going to do more lessons on this because there are plenty more that I can think of, but there's no way I can get them all in one lesson. So let's start at the beginning. A lookout. A lookout is someone who looks out for something. So they're basically a scout. It will be another word for it, a scout. It means somebody who's looking out for any danger on the horizon, possibly. A lookout will very often be looking out for danger, most often perhaps. So the military might have a lookout, you know, a small division, a unit of troops might have a scout, a lookout, to make sure that no danger is approaching. Okay, a blow-up would be an enlarged picture. If you have a blow-up of something, it's an enlarged picture of something. But blow up, the adjective with the hyphen, would mean inflatable. So if you have a blow up Santa Claus at home, it means you have an inflatable Santa Claus at home. So remember that blow something up, it doesn't only mean explode or detonate a bomb, for example. It can also mean to inflate. You blow up a balloon, you blow up your tyres when you have a puncture on your bike. You need to repair the puncture and then blow the tyre up. So please remember it also means inflate as well as explode, blow up. Okay, a backup. Back someone up or back something up. If we remember this phrasal verb, it can mean a number of different things. When you back someone up, you often support them. And when you back up your work on the computer, you save a copy of it. So a backup, it could be a copy of something. So I have a backup of all of the work that I've saved on the computer, and it's all saved on a hard drive. My backup is on my hard drive and on another computer as well, just in case. So a backup is often also a reserve copy. You can even have someone as a backup if they are waiting in reserve to be used instead of another person. So you might have, if you're a football team, you might have a backup goalkeeper. Yeah, someone who is there ready to act if the first goalkeeper isn't there. So yeah, you could also use it as an adjective, and here it would be no hyphen, and it means an extra or supporting person, and they're kind of different, I must admit. Yeah, if you have a backup goalkeeper, it means you have an extra one who's ready to take over in the event that the first man isn't able to. He can fill in for the first guy. But if you have someone who's singing backup vocals, they're singing supporting vocals. Okay, so if you have a backup plan, it's an extra plan in case the first plan doesn't work, also known as a fail-safe. Okay, so it's just in case the first plan fails, you have a backup plan. Okay, if there is a breakout, you're normally talking about a prison, and the prisoners have broken out of prison. They have decided to run away, to escape. But if you have an outbreak, then it's normally an outbreak of a disease. It's like an epidemic. We've had an outbreak of flu in this town, or we've had an outbreak of measles. Could be any kind of disease. I just wanted to remind you here, we often talk about the onset of a disease as well, which is also a phrasal verb noun. We talk about the onset of a disease, which is the beginning of the disease, the opening stages of a disease. And we also talk about the onset of winter, meaning the beginning of winter. But it's another phrasal verb noun. Okay, if you give someone the brush off, You might say this about someone who wants to get rid of somebody. When you give them the brush off, you try to get rid of them. Now, to brush something off your jumper just means what it sounds like. Yeah, you brush it off your jumper. Maybe you've got some dirt here and you brush it off your jumper. But give someone the brush off, it literally means get rid of that person. You're trying to make them go away because you're not interested in them for one reason or another. So you give them the brush off. Okay, if there is a build-up of troops on the border, that means there's an increase of troops, yeah? Build up, it means increase or strengthen. And so a build-up of troops, it would mean an increase of troops. A build-up of cholesterol in the blood would be very bad. It's unhealthy. It means that there's a lot of cholesterol increasing in quantity in your blood. And we also talk about the build-up to an event. And it means all of the hype. All of the hype on TV and in the newspapers where they're talking about it and getting you all excited, that would be the build-up to the Olympics or the build-up to the World Cup. Because the idea is that the excitement is increasing, the excitement is building up, and we call it the build-up. Okay, you can also talk about a clampdown or a crackdown. Now, anyone who's been watching and paying attention to these phrasal verb videos will immediately know that clamp down on or crack down on means restrict in some kind of way. So this would definitely be a restriction. A crackdown on drugs would be a major restriction of the drug dealers and the suppliers. I mean, it would be the police who are enforcing this, and that would be a crackdown or a clampdown. And we still use the on if we want to say on what, a crackdown or a clampdown on something. Okay, the payoff. We can use the phrasal verb pay someone off, which very often means a second meaning here, bribe. But we can also talk about the payoffs of something, as in the beneficial results of something. What are the payoffs of doing this? What are the beneficial results of doing this, yeah? And so you might say one of the payoffs will be, I don't know, an increase in profits, yeah? One of the beneficial results, one of the outcomes, one of the positive outcomes will be an increase in profits, yeah, a build-up of profit. So outcome means pretty much the same as payoff, except it's neutral. It's just a result. You can have a positive outcome or a negative outcome. Off-putting is an adjective. It's not a noun, and it means distracting, because if something is off-putting, it may be distracting you. So maybe if there's if my kids are walking out of the house and I can hear them and it's in the middle of the lesson, it's quite off-putting. So I tell them off and say, please don't make too much noise when you're leaving the house, because it's off-putting, it's distracting. But you can also use it to mean repellent. And so, I don't know, perhaps you find a celebrity in Hollywood particularly off-putting, yeah? You don't like him, whenever you see him, you find him quite a disgusting person, you find him rather off-putting, you find him rather repellent. Okay, upbringing is just, as we've discussed before, it's the care that you had when you were younger, and the way your parents or whoever else looked after you, how they brought you up, how they educated you, what they taught you about the world, very often related to your morality and how you will behave in society. So a good upbringing means you have good manners. You always say please and thank you and that kind of thing. Okay, a drawback is the opposite to a benefit, but it's a useful word to remember, because there's a lot of the time people use advantages and disadvantages too much, and if you want another word for pros and cons, well, the drawbacks and the benefits and the drawbacks. Okay, onto the fallout. This is like connected to fall out with someone, when you stop having a good relationship with them and you're not friends anymore. So the fallout often refers to unpleasant consequences of an event. Yeah, what would be the fallout if we decided to cut back on staff, we could say, yeah? And it would mean, what would be the unpleasant consequences of this cutback? But we can also talk about nuclear fallout, and this is all the horrible stuff that comes down comes down as rain, I believe, after a nuclear conflict. So all of that radioactive rain or whatever it is, that would be called nuclear fallout. Okay, the layout of a building is just where everything is in the building. So it's like a blueprint of the building. A blueprint of the building will always show the layout of the building. Yeah, we call them blueprints when they're printed on special blue paper so that you can see all of the whole technical drawing, the whole architecture of the building. So the layout's telling you the architecture of a building, but it could be the layout of something other than a building, I suppose. It could be the layout of the town or the layout of the village. Okay, if you talk about knockdown prices, you're talking about prices which are very low. The phrasal verb to knock something down, it basically means to demolish something. If you knock down a building, you tear it down. Remember, tear down is like knock down. You tear it down, you demolish the building. So knockdown prices are very, very low prices. It's not really demolished prices. I don't think we'd say that, but we would say knockdown prices, meaning very low prices. This is a bargain. And so perhaps it's worth buying this product. Okay, if something is make do, then this is related to the word make do with. And it's an adjective. And if you have a make do tent, it means that you've used something else. You don't have a tent, and so maybe you use some tarpaulin as a make do tent. Tarpaulin is just a material which you can cover yourself with. It's often in a very big sheet. Maybe you put up the sheet, hang the sheet of tarpaulin on a tree, and you have a make do tent. Yeah, you're just making do with the tarpaulin in order to make a tent. So it's called a make do tent. Okay, if something is made up, it means that it is invented. If a story is made up, it means that the author of the story has lied, the narrator has lied in some kind of way, and it's a complete work of fiction. So anything which is made up, it's invented. You can talk about a made up story, or well, anything which has been created in someone's imagination. We also have a noun here, makeup, which I think everybody's aware of. It's what women wear, cosmetics that women wear. It's called makeup. But I think everyone here should probably know that one. But made up is very common too, and it's an adjective. And you could say all the stories in this newspaper are made up. Yeah, they're all untrue. Okay, I'm going to do loads more of these because there are more coming in the oncoming lesson. So please subscribe, put some comments under the video if you have some questions about any of these nouns or adjectives. I'll be delighted to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.